Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Women Today Show. As we continue to inspire, encourage, motivate, and as well provide opportunities for mentoring and coaching, just so that you can be able to achieve your fullest potential. I'm your host, as always, Christine Amira, and I'm glad that you are able to join the conversation today. I'll just get right into it and introduce our speaker for today. It's very interesting. This time we're doing a segment on women in tech, and I'm interested in speaking to women in tech to inspire others and to also give women, bring out more visibility in terms of women in the tech sector. I think there are many of these women out here, but we don't hear from them because they're maybe sometimes we're just too busy. So let's hear from them today. So I'll go right into it and introduce our guest speaker. But before, let me just speak about her experience. She has over 15 years of experience in IT solutions, digital transformation, and technology adoption across the corporate sector, right? And currently, she enables NGOs to leverage digital products based on emerging technologies such as cloud, AI, and IoT to achieve their mission and scale their impact. That's a lot, yeah? Sounds like a mouthful. So let's hear from her today and how she's been able to carry on and on her journey in the process. Wanjiku Jean Munyaka is currently the Partner Development Manager at Microsoft Tech. She drives tech for development and social impact. I love it. I love it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Christine. It's a pleasure to be here. I've just seen a lot of segments that you've done in the past, and it's a wonderful opportunity to just represent as a woman in technology.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
I know I tried to introduce you, but maybe I did a disservice. I'm not so sure. Because you wear a very big hat. Maybe just describe yourself again, name and what you do. Yeah.
Okay. As mentioned, I'm Wanjiku, simply. Okay. Others call me Mama Thuku. I'm also a mom as well. But I think predominantly the conversation, I'm a woman in tech for about, as you said, over 15 years. I have predominantly been strong in the STEM kind of courses, and that's how I began my journey there. And especially ICT in the last 10 years began to crop up, and on the continent it became a very big opportunity to leverage, to leapfrog. So I've been working in the sector across, especially multinationals, from China, from Europe, and from America, and it's been a great privilege. I've worked across multiple sectors, financial sector, government sector. Right now, I'm working in the non-profit sector, trying to see how technology can be leveraged for development and for social impact. So it's been a career-long exploration of how engineering and IT can be useful for our communities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you always know that, this is where the journey will lead you? Or has the path just been defining itself as you go? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good question, Christine. I think initially, from my background, as I mentioned, the STEM, I was very strong in the sciences, especially math, physics, computer studies. Computer studies were just getting into our schools at that time when I was in school. I won't mention the year so that I'm not aged. Yeah, but we started, I did actually computer studies in high school. I started that out there, and I sat it in my Kenya secondary certificate examinations. So, and physics. So my strongest subjects were math, physics, and computers. And I loved it. And coming from, I grew up in Nairobi, I never ever felt, or the way I grew up, I have 3 brothers and we are 2 girls. I never ever felt like some certain domains were women domains and certain domains were male domains. So it was natural to leverage my strengths, and I passed enough to do engineering. So I went and did computer engineering in campus, just in Jomo Kenyatta University. And during that whole process, we were very few women, as you know, about 5 out of about 40 something of us, about 5 women. But because most of us, I don't know, just given our backgrounds, we never ever felt Like it was, especially in the school environment. But some people actually outside used to ask us, like females doing other courses, like, how do you just sit through a class like that? So I started realizing some people don't find it difficult as women to be in those kinds of setups. And you have to encourage and you have to lift and mentor people through that whole setup. So you'd find some people with those kinds of strengths and they choose not to go into those careers. So for me, it was an easy journey, but I realized slowly that for other women, it was not that easy. As much as they have strengths in them, it's not easy for them to take the same journey. So speaking out about it is actually important so that you lift up, especially the young girls in their teens, in their 20s and in their 30s to bring that out.
Yeah. Okay, before we even get to the journey of many women in tech, let's just start with you defining what does it mean to be a woman in tech? Because the word is used a lot, I guess haphazardly, like women in tech. And I think you had expressed that there's a lot of women in tech being said, but are these really women in tech? So what does it mean to be a woman in tech? Interesting
question. So, technology is a sector in itself, and the scientific description of technologies, the practical application of scientific knowledge to ease in our work and to how it's applied in a day-to-day basis. So I feel technology is applied across different sectors, but I think the important voice that we don't speak about, especially in technology, is the development of technology. How it's actually thought of, not just how it's applied, but how it's developed. Before they came up with a computer, there were engineers who had to sit down with semiconductors.
Hardwares.
Exactly. That's a part I think not many women come out to speak about their backgrounds and experiences there. And I guess just given the kinds of, most of the times, the characters of the people who sit, the science-based people who sit in the background, they don't like being in the forefront. But I think it's a very important voice. And there are a lot of women I was in school with, who have very interesting conversations on that front and on how they've worked, not just in Kenya, but across the world. Because initially, even the way technology came into the African societies was that we were selling it. We are not actually developing it. We are just selling it for people to start using it. But now, when you look at, and that's a background I've worked with. I came into, when I've worked in the sales of it in different industries. But now, I think when we have a younger and younger population in Africa, more and more people are being leveraged to develop it, to actually come up with the science behind it, develop it before it's sold into the different industries. So I think those kinds of perspectives are very important as a technology to be defined within the technology sector. So
if you're creating hardware and software and solutions that are to make people's life easier, then you're in the tech sector.
You're in the tech sector. Being a tech company, of course, like the ones that I've worked for, like Microsoft, they of course have HRs and they have salespeople and sometimes those are defined. I guess you can define them as
because
tech.
They're in the sector itself.
But it's not the core, the technical professionals that actually come up with the solutions that are offered in technology. So I like bringing in that aspect of it because sometimes we can leave that out.
No, that's important because now you again differentiate and voice out for those who are looking into getting into this career, those who are looking at opportunities that exist, and those who are looking to grow themselves in their career. They need to see what they can become more than just being around the sector. But you can also be ingrained at the core of what this is. And I like that you say that there are now solutions coming from Africa to the world in terms of developing these solutions. Is that happening in Kenya or is there like different countries in Africa? Now I'm just curious for myself that are promoting, is there a hub, the Silicon Valley hub in Africa currently?
A great question. And as you said, and it's the way you asked it is that because those things are not coming out. But when we look at like Kenya across the African continent, it's starting to pop out as a digital center of talent, like a core area of talent for the technology sector. It's becoming quite prevalent and it's growing. Just to mention an example, we've seen the Africa Development Centers being generated by big multinationals across the world, like global players in the tech sector, developing development centers here in Africa, specifically Kenya, South Africa. Of course, there are some countries which are top with talent: Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, South Africa. But I think Kenya is starting to differentiate itself, and we are seeing a lot of top talent of engineers, IT engineers, software developers, people who are actually doing work not just for customers here, but for global customers and very big customers that are out there. It's silently going on. Maybe just to mention one example, having digital centers of excellence, where we are seeing people are actually developing solutions that are being used by, as I say, some big names out there, and they're actually seated here in Kenya, doing a lot of remote work, doing a lot of work here, just here remotely, doing a lot of even hardware, just developing hardware systems. So it's interesting that is happening now, and we are starting to be, I think, Kenya being visible as a global talent.
Is this a post-COVID solution? I don't know, trend going on?
Yeah.
Or was this happening before?
I think for one, we have seen from the COVID period. I wouldn't say it's particularly related to COVID, but I think also the number of youth that Africa has now, and the lack of certain talent being found globally. It's becoming a huge challenge, and of course the technology rapidly developing, especially post the COVID time, where we have things like the artificial intelligence, the cloud, rapidly, developing at this stage now. And they have to find people and talent that can help them take it to the next level. And so most times young people, of course, because they don't have any legacy, they don't know any different, and they don't have to, rub what they know to get in new knowledge. It becomes the easiest source of people to skill, to quickly jump onto those opportunities. So I think that's what we have been able to leverage. And being spoken of, like by 2035, 1 in every person in the world will be an African. That's huge.
Yeah.
We would definitely need to be a source of talent. They have to start thinking. Those companies have to start thinking of how they can make sure we have the right skills to fill in the opportunities that are coming up. Yes.
Okay, and so what would you imagine the world would be like? Would people just have to do digital courses and get into these opportunities, or is there like are there schools that are also certifying people? But I rarely see that nowadays. I feel like everybody is trying to go virtual and just do a course. I think I even registered for an AI course. I just haven't found time to. But online, virtually, I don't think I need to walk into a university to study. What would you say? Would you still certify, somebody's papers coming from, my own studies, or is the importance of going to school?
Good question, and it's a discussion among a lot of people, especially within the tech space. The traditional form of knowledge we know is going through tertiary, high school, tertiary education, getting your papers and working. But I think the rapid, with the kind of changes that are happening, it's difficult for these formal systems to adapt quickly as fast as the changes are happening. And so especially because they're very formal, like a university needs a curriculum to be adopted, it needs to be accepted by the professions in that industry, and so changing that and keeping up with that is a bit hard. And I think opportunities have come up in doing that. I think also COVID related, doing that digitally, remote wise. Has enabled that, and I don't think you need to wait to go through the formal systems. There are opportunities and schools that are coming up, and you can see based on the outcomes of it. I think a good way to be able to measure good schools to go for learning or digital platforms to use is based on the outcomes of it.
Okay. I'm worried that anyone can get any papers anywhere, but you can't credit. What's the word? I think lawyers have a word for it, where they have to,
validate, verify
this kind of, information you're like, Is it that we're at a stage in life, or we don't need to have validation of it, anything? We just we just work with what is, as long as you have information, basically, and you can use it. I think that's how we are, in a world that we don't need to say, you went to this university, you have this kind of quality work, or I don't know. They don't even know what I'm thinking, but maybe you understand.
I actually
do.
With I do, and it's been a conversation around, what are the best opportunities to get the right skills to do the work that is required and to take the opportunities. I think because also right now we are not talking about like a country kind of opportunity. We are talking about global opportunities around the tech, and I think this is the mindset we need to really jump on. That it's not about the opportunities that are even local or on a continent. It's global opportunities. Like we have they're looking for us, and as you said, it's sometimes difficult. Because now we are no longer looking at, what the government here has validated and verified as good universities. They have the right content, but we are looking at, what the world is saying is the right content to read and the right skill to develop. And I think a lot now it's coming out on the even on the internet and sources around validating the information that is coming out. And because it's very new, there are very few players like giving out learning skills on artificial intelligence. Very few and they're coming out straight from industry. They're not even coming out from the professionals, because the professionals are busy just working on that opportunity. They don't have time to build the schools to do it. So a lot of opportunities are coming directly from the companies and from the industries to upskill and to get the right people on board to help them run with it. And so confirming, where people who are working in those segments have skilled up on, and you'd find many of them are digitally, from Udemy, from because right now, where has if a company is developing AI, the few companies that are developing AI, ChatGPT, the big names, many of them are pushing out, learning content. I remember when I was starting out, even in school, in university, I did a lot of Cisco courses. And that's how learning has transformed now, where the companies are actually developing content, putting out there digitally, and it becomes easier for you to get into those opportunities if you've taken in their content and you are certified based on their content. So I think that's where the world is going right now, because focus on where the actual opportunities are, which companies are generating these opportunities, and have they developed any skilling content around it. And if they have, adopt that, because that's where the opportunities, even for jobs, they'll take the people who have used their content to absorb them into the opportunities. But you brought a good aspect around, it's not just about getting jobs in these companies and these industries. It's around also upskilling for opportunities for entrepreneurs and for the like. But I think even as entrepreneurs, because they give business to other businesses, they give skills to other businesses and other corporates and other individuals. They still have to depend on this content to upskill so that they can sell those solutions that they're developing to these companies.
Also another reason I was asking is, in my opinion, based on what you've said, I think it's safer if corporates are the ones providing the skills for the market. But then I'm also worried about the ethics. We have issues like hacking. You can as well learn hacking from a good institution that will teach you the ethics on how to hack. But then you can as well get the content that will make you be a hacker, that a threat to any, any organization, any country, any association. So that's the only reason why I think in my mind I'm not worried, but worried. It's a good thing where there's a lot of information out there, but at the same time, it's who is sharing this information and why are they sharing this information. They're teaching what's the intention behind, and what are they passing forward to the younger people coming in. So there's that's the kind of conversation also that I was thinking about when asking the question. But then you mentioned something very important about corporates and organizations being the ones to provide, the skills. Is Microsoft offering any of these trainings at the moment in Africa, basically, or globally? or maybe this is something that will be looked at years later?
So the interesting thing about this content, because a lot of these large multinationals focus on scale. It's very important that anything they offer out there scales into not just in one segment, but multiple countries and across the globe. And they try to create the same content for everyone, so that everyone has the same opportunity and no one is left out. So there are opportunities around, especially digital content. We have environments they have created like Microsoft Learn. It's a free, digital platform where people can go and learn about Microsoft products and even certify. And it's certification that Microsoft offers, and it actually puts the certificates can be done by schools, just local schools. They have gotten partners with local schools to run the certification program, and also to examine, to do digital examinations, and for you to pass and verify that you have a certificate directly from Microsoft to enable that. And I think one thing you've mentioned around it's not just about learning to get an opportunity even within Microsoft, but the opportunity that it opens around entrepreneurship. How can you apply that learning to help companies here, even locally, to adopt technology and to transform? We've seen a lot of our banks right now in Africa being at the forefront of adopting technology. The fintech space in Africa is going leaps and bounds against competing, just as is happening across the world. So it's interesting to see how can entrepreneurs come up with solutions based on some of these tech emerging technologies and offer them to companies here, so that even our companies in different sectors compete globally, whether it's in the financial services, whether it's in the insurance sector. How can they grow by adopting these technologies to compete on a global level as well? So I think the aim is I think the focus would be how can we concentrate on getting the right learning, and it doesn't have to be in person. I think people need to also, and I've seen a lot of Gen Zs, they are very open to learning digitally, and sometimes us as the older generations, we find it very difficult, like I don't go to a campus for 6 months, I would see my teacher. But once you start shedding off that mindset where I'm able to get my master's from the US and do it right from my seat at home or right from the office, and it's just the same quality of information as I got when I was doing my undergrad in person in Nairobi University. I think you'll be able to see the potential opportunity there is, and once you put that even on your LinkedIn, on your platforms, how that opens doors of opportunities for people who are searching for your skills.
Okay. Sounds very interesting. I think Gen Zs are lucky because they are born into it.
Exactly.
I think if I look at my parents' generation, they were born when some technology was just beginning more, the hardware part, phones and all these things. And then now as we get into it and we see the era of when the internet begins and Google comes in, then now there are those who are coming after and after. And the more younger people are born, they are born into a tech and fast moving world. So they quickly grasp and they are okay working in the computer. And as we are still on the one-on-one, I really love and appreciate going to a school, sitting in a class. I still do. I still do. I'm still the old school self. It shows that I'm just, I don't want to show my age, but but then I have a question around sustainability and tech, right? How can we leverage on tech, of course, to now, I know that's a very broad question, but maybe just give a few highlights to promote sustainable development. Basically because women empowerment is sustainable development. I'm also somehow in the water sector, so I'm also trying to look into sustainable development, capacity development. There's so many sustainable development goals that are very close to my heart, and youth empowerment is one of them. And that also comes with trying to see how to promote SDG 8 with corporates, how are we making the labor force more enable them basically to be more upskilled in many ways. But how can we leverage on tech as it is today? There's AI, there's IoT, you know, there's all these things. But how can we leverage on all these things to make the world a better place and to also leave the world a better place for those coming after us?
Yes, I think that's a very key question that is really coming up as more and more corporates try and figure out this ESG and how the impact that companies have on the environment and, you know, and the planet itself, and how can we contribute what we're building to actually, as you said, leave it as a better place. So I think one thing that corporates do well is collect data. I think, especially in the developed world, they've been doing it for many, many years. I think we have gotten into the game of, you know, providing and collecting data here now, and doing it in a way that is, of course, ethical, and in a way that personal information and identifiable information is, you know, is being managed in the right way. But I think data is very critical in being able to identify what have we done in the past that has caused all the issues we are facing now, climate issues, sustainability. What have we done in the past that has brought, you know, a lot of impact around, you know, all the floods we are facing across the world, and how can we now instead do the right things to make sure the impact is not as felt. And you know, there's been this discussion around semiconductors, how it's being mined, and, you know, just being able to sustain the technology as it goes right now. I think for one, the aspect around working with the cloud is very critical, because the footprint is much smaller of technology. If we share the environment, we share the tech environment, that we're not each, you know, having our own data centers that are you know, distributed across Kenya, distributed across the world, but having you know, data centers and the cloud where we are sharing infrastructure. If you're using it today, you don't need it to use until next week. How can you release that so that someone else uses it in the meantime? And that's the aspect about cloud. You know, that's the strength around cloud, where you're not all of us are investing in a data center that doesn't need to be up the whole time. And I think that significantly reduces the footprint we have on the earth in terms of especially technology, and it's very key. And in certain some of the global corporate cloud vendors, they are able to measure when, you know, how much you're using as a corporate, how much does that impact the environment in terms of, you know, power, in terms of releasing carbon dioxide. By sharing that infrastructure, you're able to get that data around exactly how that is contributing towards, you know, your ESG goals. And I think that is very significant in itself. But other than that, I think also the collection, the aspect of companies, even non-profits in the sustainability sector, if they use digital platforms to collect data, they're able to get much better insights, and they get information around how can we scientifically improve outcomes of the environment when it comes, as you said, in water with IoT. Yes. You know, we don't know how much we waste, maybe between the dam and, you know, how much flows out. If you don't have an IoT device that measures how much is leaking, or how much you know, poison is getting into the water, and that is the you know, practical usage of technology. If you don't have those digital aspects in your whole ecosystem, you're not able to measure, and you're not able to continually improve without it. And I think that's what has been powerful around technology, in that you measure and scientific, you have facts, you know, you're not working on guesswork.
It's facts.
It's facts. It's raw data that you can continually improve outcomes for, and we continue impacting the world. I think as we continue to measure and continue to apply technology, we continue to improve things. And it's very important, I think, the adoption of technology to help us identify how we can leave the world a better place.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love what you say, and you share such good insights, and they seem very kind, but people rarely want to share data with each other. I think data is a very sensitive conversation altogether.
Yes.
And most corporates, I don't know, not just corporates, but people do research for they want to keep it to themselves for other different reasons, but that's a conversation for another day. I want to just get back to your journey as an individual. I think we've talked too many serious things, and I love talking about serious things, but I'd like to also know the person behind it.
Yes,
and it's
yes.
also good to share ourselves to the world. And it's just a way of giving back, just in case anyone is encouraged by your insight and intelligence. Woman, you are very intelligent. I can see, and you're quite something. But how does a woman get to be like you? You know, that kind of thing. Might not be exactly the same, but to draw inspiration from you.
Wow.
You know, that's what Women Today is trying to also do. Encourage people to be women, to be thoughtful, and you know, you have to be a thought leader at the same time, an inspiration to others, and try to give back. Now, coming back to yourself, I am so curious. The fact that you're in the tech world, which needs to be very scientific. Are you very rational like that? Like, are you? Would you define yourself like that? Like you think critically, based on
logical, logical thinker. That's a great question. And sometimes, as you say, with a science background, you can take yourself very seriously and forget. and not everyone is like that. You know. And I tend to think, especially I'm actually a very factual based person. I like, as in I would go down to the principles and discuss on the principle of applying that. But I've come to realize the value of human interaction and feedback and engagement. And sometimes you're so busy out there in the field trying to push something, push technology, show people, like, you can't see. You can't see the way this thing will just impact our environment. Then when you sit down with people and you just share, as you said, share from a personal perspective, and give them just your background and why, you know, just share jokes and you understand them better. And sometimes they open themselves up to share with you vulnerabilities around why they don't want to adopt that technology. I mean, my job is at stake, but this texting you're talking about, then I adopt it tomorrow, then I don't have a job. Tell me, do I have to take 4 years out of my job to go learn so that I don't get into that impact? I'm not impacted in that way. So the aspect around engagement, social and human interactions is very important for feedback, and to be able to get people on board with what you hope to accomplish. I think in Africa, I think we tend to take more time in interacting than in executing. That's what I find. I tend to find very different from the developed world. They are very factual. And you work with people like Germans. And you work with, they're just
me about it.
Exactly. They're very key on executing, on pushing forward, because everyone, basically, because they tend to be more or less like a homogeneous society. People have a certain standard level of living. So people understand the value of things. They tend to be the same. I think more than here in the African perspective, where there are different classes, different cultures, different backgrounds. So people won't just do things because, it's just valuable for the environment. The other factors, a lot of factors in play behind, and you need to give that personal perspective for someone to see this person is not malicious when they're pushing this agenda. It's not for their own benefit, it's for our benefit together collectively. And especially as I moved from, and that's why it was key for me to move from the commercial sector. Commercially, at least you work with banks, you work with insurance, people have a certain, standard. But when you work with social impact and development, oh my God, you need to take time out to engage and to, give people your own. My desire is to see all of us grow. And for me, coming from that environment where you see the impact of technology on profit, and you see, like, these people have applied this tech and they have profited and they're becoming richer and richer, and but understanding that technology can be impactful in lifting all of us up from a social environment. It became clear for me I wanted my career to be more impactful than profit, and to find ways, rather than giving on the side, after your 5 o'clock job, trying to find how you can give, but how can my skills actually help youth empowerment.
Yes, yes.
How can you show opportunities to young people that are coming up that they need to, as much as you have passions, you're a content creator, how can you use digital to help you, take you to the next level? As much as you're a marketer, they're like LinkedIn marketing, like how you leveraging Google marketing tools, digital marketing tools. So thinking that the new ways that are coming up, and leverage those two to and I find that even on our continent, a lot of people do things for good, but money is important to be able to influence and to impact. So you must also think about the financial impacts around. If you by doing this, it has a financial impact, and you're able to apply those finances to do even more. So I think from a personal perspective, I've seen the need to engage, hang out. I hang out with non-profits, especially in the digital skilling space. It's a very core mission of ours to make sure youth and people, and even women, because traditionally women have not been involved in the tech space. And more, I think, as the tech space evolves, careers like data, you'd find women because they are very patient, and data analysis can be very boring. And those opportunities are so there, and I think sometimes women are a good fit for it, just with the aspects of digging into data, trying to find the root causes. Also, the fact that those new opportunities, you don't have to work full time, and which is an important fact which is important for sometimes for women, given the life cycles we face, our life cycle. Sometimes you can't work full time. You want to maybe work 4 hours in a day so that you can, exactly, your domestic responsibilities. So I think a lot of the opportunities coming up offer that kind of opportunity for, diversity and inclusion of people who are not traditionally present, youth and women, the disabled. I think it has helped me find, a balance around how technology can be applied in that way.
I can almost count the joys that you've had in your career. Like as you speak, I'm just listening. I'm like, I see, that was a win. So when you handle it, especially now with the NGO sector, I think bringing the social impact, and then I think also you mentioned making businesses do more profit, providing opportunities for I can almost count all the joys that you had in your life, which means you're really enjoying your career.
Exactly, right? I do. And sometimes, because of my background in the corporate space, I leverage those connections and those networks, especially as more and more formal corporates now are pushed into, as you said, ESG being a very core priority, how they can give back to the society. And we've seen, foundations being developed by Safaricom Foundation and PESA Foundation, KCB Foundation. Those networks help you show them opportunities around where they can see, they can give their funds and see an impact in the society. So also, it's interesting how if you allow yourself to evolve in your career, if you open yourself up, you don't have to be stuck in the same field, and there's new opportunities for learning and for growing in your career.
That is very true. That's 100% true. So I think you're still developing. You'd say you're still investing in yourself.
Exactly.
What is the height of what you don't need to say everything, but basically you've really achieved so much and done so much, and working for multinational like Microsoft is not an easy feat, but what else are you looking at? How much higher can you go?
That's an interesting question. I think for me right now in the stage I'm in, even in terms when you don't talk about titles and positions, I think just being a greater influence and impacting more people that I am right now. When I started my career, I used to just work, as a telecom engineer in one company here in Kenya. And moving that out, it became East Africa. Then now I'm working with Egyptian non-profits, I'm working with South African non-profits, Nigerian non-profits. Having my ability to influence extending further and further. I think that's my goal on what greater impact can I have across the world. And I think that opportunity has come up by not having a local perspective. Like, yeah, I think it's a very important thing, especially when you come from a place like Africa, where sometimes we can be bogged down with the problems
that
of our
going on around
us, simple problems around, potholes on the road, and you can be bogged down by that. But seeing your potential to impact the world, and not just, and it could be in a simple, in a very small area, in a very a specific area of expertise, but you're extending your spheres of influence outside of the area that you're in. I think is what I look forward to.
Okay. So what are you most grateful for about being in your career, or what are you grateful for in your life today? You think you chose the right career?
I think I did. I think for me, as I mentioned, I tried to do what would come naturally and the easiest to me. And sometimes opportunities may not be in the area that are not what naturally comes to you, and sometimes it's difficult when that happens. I find I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time when tech was just growing, and I could take advantage of that. But I think we live in I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that it's growing. I'm in an area which is actually growing. But I think also the world has a lot to offer us. Like you can't allow yourself to, you might have started your career in an area you are not passionate about because, the opportunities at that time were different. But I think at 40 you can change your career in this day and age, where the world is thinking about digital skilling. I don't have to go full-time school and everything. I think we are living at a time when you can easily rebrand yourself and find yourself in a new opportunity. I'm grateful for I think the voice we have as women now. We come from, I think, backgrounds where sometimes we have very gender specific roles that we came from, and a society that defines our roles based on our gender. I think that is changing as time goes on, where people are able to fully explore themselves despite this. Just natural, what is their own God-given talent and purpose, and pursue that despite if you're female or male. I think I'm grateful that we live in such a time. I myself have 3 kids, and I'm still able to pursue a career, and I'm able to fully engage in it. Of course, I try and also fully engage when I'm at home, and leave that at work. So I think we live at a time when we have a lot of, especially as women, opportunities, and I hope we jump on them and we move in them.
I love it, and especially when you said we live in a time where you can change your career. I accept. I have a friend who was an air hostess when we left university, and she has rebranded so well. Right now she has actually decided to get into the tech sector. I'm so proud of her.
Oh, nice.
She took time off. She just resigned, took time off, sat in the house for like, I don't know how many, I think it's been a year or so, transitioned, and now she's in coding and other things. And
excellent.
I'm so proud. I'm extremely proud, and she's rebranded to, I didn't like my career, now I'm trying to get into what I really wanted. So I love that. And as women, we can as well take as many opportunities as we can, for sure.
And maybe just to mention as well, that's a great example you gave. And I have friends who, a lot of people we went to school with now live overseas, and you couldn't tell like 2 years before that, like an opportunity to present itself, someone to relocate to the UK or to Ireland or to the US, like just based on how you sit down and you just think around, what do I need to do to get myself to that level, and if you fully apply yourself, you will, I truly believe you'll find the doors opening for you. So I have a lot of friends, especially in the engineering fields and in the tech fields, where you find people, their skill is so in demand, and you may not know, they work just here, even just here, but if they give you the kind of people they engage with and the kind of clientele they engage with, you'll be shocked. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
There's a lot. And I also have another example. A friend, again, from Kenya, doing geothermal energy engineering and all that, being taken up to other corporates, like, out of the world. I mean, out of East Africa. I love it. Like, I love to see women grow and achieve and tap into all the opportunities that exist.
Exactly.
mentioned having 3 children. I love it. Mama's Day is coming up. I think it's going to be on 12th of May. Yeah, this is just, I think, after we've recorded this.
Yes.
What do you aspire your children to be? Are you trying to nudge them into your career, or are you letting them be? Because you know better. You know the world is going to be so tech. I mean, they're going to get into a world that is different from even the one you've known.
Yes, yes.
And you can't force, children. They are their own person. What are you trying to instill career-wise?
Interesting. So, actually, my husband and I met playing soccer in campus. So it's interesting. So we're also very sporty.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
And our kids takes after us. And we have our firstborn is very good in music, and it's something we don't even have any inclination.
Really wonder where
this come from. Yeah. So and in fact, we are very supportive of things outside of academics because they're still young. We're very supportive of those because, as we said, the world is becoming a very small environment. You don't know, today someone is just here in Kenya, tomorrow they're the global Messi, God willing. As we were no longer defined by where you come from. There's opportunity to present yourself digitally, and people appreciate talent, and you can easily position yourself globally by being on digital platforms. So we're trying not to push them in that. We'd love to have a sports player in our family. But in terms of, my husband is also a tech profession. Okay. But I think right now where they are 8 and below, the aim is to just for them to identify their talents and identify what is natural to them and what they feel comes easy, and they apply themselves in those things. So I think our focus now was around character, making sure that whatever fields they choose, that they have the right character to help them grow in those fields. Whether it's in a sports career, whether it's in a musical career, whether it's in a tech career, whether it's in a sociology or the likes, that they have the right have the character of discipline, grit to help them take them through the journey that is ahead of them. And I think mental issues are becoming a big deal in where we are living now. So giving them space to explore themselves so that they identify themselves what is key for them to do in this world. So we try and run it like that.
I like that you mentioned character as well. I think I had a discussion on Women Today again with a lady called Rita Kavashe. She's like the MD of Isuzu. And she said the same thing. For her, I think character is everything. Like above all else, to teach the children, and even for those that she mentors, it's always about character. And I also wanted to ask you a question about mentorship. So I like that you mentioned already about mental health being a concern, because that's the concern that women in this show targets, I think, late 20s and 30s. I think this is a target audience. But then, mental health is one of the main concerns that they are going through. Are you mentoring anyone, and what challenges are they having around mental health, and how do we improve their capacity to be, a bit, I don't know, maybe you can't have the answer, but how are you approaching it?
It's actually a difficult, phase. I think as we go through, there's some negative aspects that come with, digital platforms and, social media, and being fully focused on that. As much as there's a lot of positive we have discussed around that, I think it presents a lot of, addiction, and, the platform can have a lot of negative content around it, and it does generate a lot of mental issues. I am in multiple mentoring circles like the Global Give Back, and especially focused on supporting women and youth in developing their talents and their careers. And it's important to have that. As much as you're engaging with them, sometimes I think the pressure that has come with women getting into careers is that they want to have it all.
And they want to have it all quick. Like,
that's a thing.
In less than a year, they want to have everything.
Then at the same time.
At the same time. Yeah.
That can put a lot of pressure on people, or even young people. They live in this microwave generation where put popcorn, it pops out, you eat and you finish.
Yeah.
And sometimes those kinds of pressures, when you surround yourself with those kinds of pressures where it's immediate, you want it quick, as you said, you want it now, you want it all.
Yeah.
You sometimes that messaging can come out. As you can see, I'm not young. I'm
You
about
are
15 years of experience.
Yeah.
Building, coming to that level, it has taken time. It has taken time to build to that level. So letting them know that wherever you are at any one time, make sure you excel there, and it does provide opportunities. It opens doors for you to go to the next level. So there are certain times of my career that have slowed down. I didn't talk about, there's a time I was actually retrenched from one of my jobs. It was a very difficult period. Like how I thought I'm a 150% excel in my work. And right now we live in a time when it's very common for that to happen, because roles are changing and a lot of opportunities are changing. So you can't let a situation just pull you down in one instance. Realize that this is a journey, and you progressively continue to grow. Don't expect it all at the same time. There are times you may slow down, even based on other factors like family life. And when I was having the kids, it had to take slow down a bit so that I can concentrate on that. But we can't have it all at the same time. Just and it's a journey. Just continually, progress. It's progression and not perfection. So I think that's a message when it comes to from my end, what I've seen interacting and mentoring with young people. Like it does take time to build that to where you want it to go. And when it does take time, you don't fall. When you're a CEO at 28, and it's nice. We have people like those, and it's amazing. But sometimes I feel, as we were talking about character, when it takes time to build that character, and when you rise, it becomes very difficult for you to fall, because you've built the right character, perseverance, and the right attitudes to help you, to ground you when you're up there. Because it does become also lonely when you succeed and you're up there. So it's important that you understand it will take time, so that you have the right character to stay up there.
Okay. I think I'll end there, the conversation. I had so many questions. I think over 15 questions that I haven't even gotten to half of them. But the conversation has been so enlightening. I appreciate talking to you. For me as well, just being on Women Today Show, interviewing the ladies, I also learn as well. So I get to learn from everyone. And every conversation adds something, and I always remember the conversation and what we have after.
It's a great seat you have. You have great opportunities to interview all these amazing ladies, and we thank God you record them as well. We get to see that.
As well. And lots of other women get to see it. So I like to encourage people to share it as much as they can. And for anyone who might benefit from the conversation. And you've said so many things. You've shared your journey. It takes. I don't take it for granted, by the way, when anyone comes to my show. It's not. I don't take it like, I don't know. Like I'm not entitled, because it's to share your journey, to encourage others to share your journey, is not. It's kindness. I consider it kindness. Amazing. And I consider it kindness for you to come. So thank you so much for honoring the invite. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your joys, your challenges. I'm unfortunately learning that you were retrenched at your workplace when I'm finishing the interview. If I knew this before, I would have gone into that as well, because there's a lot of people have gone through, especially post-COVID, about retrenchment and getting back, and how you manage to get back to yourself, bounce back. So maybe we can have another discussion later on the same, just as a topic. Or during an event I plan to organize as well around women in tech. So this has been interesting. You've also shared the best insights on your personal goals and, you know, also what your wish is for the world today. You've spoken so many things, so many words of wisdom, so many nuggets of wisdom. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Christine. You know, having the boldness to create these platforms where you're in front of a screen, you know, interviewing women. I think it's a very important platform for helping other women to be bold enough to take the opportunity, to take the, you know, the challenge and take their creative aspects to create platforms that help women. I thank you so much for that as well, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. You're welcome. That's it from us, dear viewers. Thank you so much for staying awake also and listening to us. Thank you for all the conversations that you have listened to you've listened to before with Women Today Show, and I hope you can stay tuned for the next episode. We have spoken so many things. If you forget anything, I think character remains one of the things that we keep talking about over and over. And she also mentioned something so key about everything taking time, and there are seasons for everything. And I guess I'm also inspired by that, to know sometimes you can't just have it all. Be the best at what you can be at whatever place you are. So I think if you forget everything, that's the word that I've gotten today from Jean. And we hope to see you again next time. Please share this with a friend, share this with a family, share this with women in tech, those who need conversations. We have so many conversations around technology today, and I hope that we can have more of this on Women Today Show. And I'm your host as always, Christine Amira. Please share your comments, any other requests that you may have about what you'd like to see on Women Today Show. I'm happy to bring that to you. Till next time, bye-bye.